Hello again, and welcome to another of Mosaic's Coffee Breaks. Mosaic is, of course, a collaboration of the organisations shown at the front of this presentation, and that collaboration focuses very much on the ownership issues associated with mid-market law firms. And when we say ownership, we mean everything associated with ownership, mergers and acquisitions, partnership structures, succession planning, partner exits, and everything associated with all of those issues. I hope you enjoy this broadcast. Hello again, everyone. We last met as a group on the 10th of March, coming up to the usual 31st of March year ends for many of our clients. Time has, however, very much caught up with us, and we were wondering whether to continue with posting this recording. However, looking at the messages in there, we thought they were still no less relevant, even though they might be a little bit outdated. So we hope you enjoy this recording.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest in the series of Mosaic Coffee Breaks. Just the three of us this time, as our colleague Mark Briegel is probably looking at cherry blossoms somewhere in Japan at the moment. Lucky man. We were going to have a cardboard cutout of him on the screen, but decided that we would probably have too much fun doing that.
Yes, we actually thought of a tub of lard, didn't we? But we decided that was totally inappropriate for Mark.
A joke for older viewers only. So what we're doing today is recognizing that for many of our client firms, we are in the last month of their financial year. So we're going to have a general chat about the kind of things that will be on managing partners' radars at this time of year, on the radars of owners of law firms, what we might be thinking about for the year ahead, etc. So that's a really broad theme for today's call. Would you like to start us off, Howard?
Yeah, a couple of things. Clearly, coming up to year-end, billing is the main focus, and making sure you maximise your billing. Everyone will be working very diligently at the moment, reviewing their work in progress lists. But a couple of things that come to mind. One is a bit techy and is a bit arcane, but the whole pension area, I think, is up in the air. Most clients or most firms, or certainly mine, have changed their year ends to March. And it's going to make if they're in the band of 260,000 to 360,000, it's going to make planning and getting their pension contribution before 5th of April that much more difficult, because they won't know what their profits are until after the year end. So that's one of the things to think about.
Can I ask you a techie question there, Howard? It's never been a problem I've had to grapple with, but some of my clients probably have. What happens when profits go above 360?
You just get restricted to £10,000 annual contribution.
10,000.
Yeah, so it comes down from a 60,000 contribution at profits of 260 down to 10,000 at profits of 360,000.
And nothing between 260 and 360?
It comes down pro rata according to the income, and that's why it's so difficult to determine what pension payment you should pay before the 5th of March. 31st of March, because you don't know what your profits are going to be. And it's compounded by the fact that with the change in the budget, we were talking earlier on about the fact that what your IHT planning is. Pensions have been exempt from IHT. They're going to not be exempt. Tom, you can put me right. I think it's from 5th of April 27, not 26.
I think that's right, yes.
And it's changing clients' attitudes. I've been very keen on pensions over the years, and clients are saying, well, no, I'm even less inclined now, in spite of the tax saving benefits of going in, even less inclined. So the old phraseology is go skiing, spend the kids' inheritance. Or as a client said to me years ago, Howard, if you don't travel first class, your children will. So that's one of my philosophies.
Very good. So apart from pension planning, which is very much from a personal perspective, what will firms be looking at this time of year?
So I'm just going to add work in progress. Accountants were the worst possible people to talk about valuing work in progress, because we made such a prolix of it over the years. And there's a new accounting standard coming out, which applies in 2 years' time, where not only have you got to put leases onto your balance sheet, i.e. if you rent some property, you've got to put a notional value of your property into your accounts and depreciate it and put a notional interest charge through. Absolutely meaningless. That's going to apply in about 2 years' time. And there's changes to the basis of valuing work in progress as well, which I guess probably won't affect most people because we've been able to find our way around the rules in the past. But those are the two things that are coming up. But sorry, Tom, I spoke over you.
Not at all, Val, not at all. So yeah, sort of year end or maybe sort of start of new year things. So most of the software providers take this point in the year to just start making numbers up, adding zeros onto the back end of all their license agreements. So I know for several of my firms, we're well into the weeds of that negotiation with heavy air quotes, because whatever number that they've opened the batting with is never going to be the final number. You almost wonder why we all bother, but it certainly is going to be something. It's going to land somewhere that is quite painful. It's very rare that the software providers just, add on 2 or 3% of inflation. It's usually something very different. And so that starts you down a ball of, well, actually, do we even like this software? Do we need it? Or do we need quite as many licenses as we've got? Or do we change lock, stock, and barrel to something else? So I think that tends to be roughly this point of the year where everybody just decides whether they're swallowing some very, very significant increases. Equally, a lot of people are PII renewers at around about now. So again, that's another sort of feels like less of a gun being held to your head, if you see what I mean. But it is another round of negotiation, isn't it? And what can we do on the premium, and where are the sensible places that we can add additional layers or not, think about our risk profiles or not. I get the impression that the market is softer than it has been, whilst not being, particularly soft, if I can draw that distinction without a difference. So I know, again, several of my firms are well into the weeds of what's this year's number, and I don't think those numbers are coming out unfair, but they are nonetheless coming out often with increases. And so what's behind that, and what do you do about it or not to try and bring it down? So I think now is the season where a lot of people reset a lot of numbers in the budget just simply because they have to, frankly.
Let me sort of zoom out a little and ask a sort of a more macro type question. Since we last got together to record one of these sessions, the world has tilted on its axis, and many of the assumptions that we've made for the last 20 years of our careers have got some pretty big question marks against them. Obviously, I'm talking of the New World Order instigated by the President of the USA. The way that Western governments are reacting to that is suggesting we're in an existential moment here. Are any law firms, clients of yours, talking about making fundamental changes to their business plans or strategies to reflect any of these uncertainties?
It's interesting, though, before we started on recording this call, we were talking about the whole area of the flurry of activity in the private equity market. And certainly in the last few weeks, there's been some significant activity in that area in the mid-market firms.
Yeah.
And I've had one client who may well be watching this say to me, "What am I missing out? Why should I be doing it? Why shouldn't I be doing it?" And I think more and more clients, more and more law firm managing partners will be saying, "A lot of activity here. Should we be doing it?"
And are you suggesting, Howard, then that the underlying economic uncertainties will be a contributory factor for some firms in saying we ought to have a look at this?
Personally, I don't think so, except for potentially AI. I've been a bit relaxed about AI, thinking that it really won't replace what the three of us do here in terms of interpretation, views, rather than the actual number crunching work or the technical work of putting agreements together, which I think AI can do. But I was with an old client recently who was saying, no, it really is fundamentally different. Because as in when IT came in the 80s, 90s, you then needed more people to actually maintain the IT equipment. You needed more people to put networks in. His argument to me was, no, it's different this time. because you are actually losing jobs because the AI will do all of that for you.
I
I'm not entirely convinced, but I can see the argument.
Well, outside our M&A focus, my primary activities in the pricing field, I've written about this and I believe it very, very genuinely that I think 2025 will be a pivotal year for law firm pricing because I'm seeing with most of my mid-tier clients are using AI in some form or another already. It is taking, at the moment, a handful of 6-minute units out each working day, but that's soon going to be hundreds of 6-minute units and eventually thousands of 6-minute units. So all law firms are going to have to start looking at pricing for outputs,
Yeah.
not charging the cost of inputs, which means that what I've been preaching for years about looking at value pricing is going to become default.
Yeah.
And those mid-tier firms that haven't yet committed to upskilling their troops in value pricing, they're going to be left behind unless they get into this area really quickly.
Mm.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? One of my clients recently, we were looking at some sort of per seat costs, which once upon a time would have been, this is the person's wage, and maybe we apportion and their share of the rent or their share of the fact that they use the cashier. There's a bunch of costs which are clearly allocated directly to a fee earner, and another bunch of costs that you can apportion to a fee earner. But it was the first time where I've done that calculation, and I must have done that calculation hundreds of times. It was the first time where we really had to think about, oh, actually, who uses which software? And actually, there's this AI bit and there's that AI bit, and trying to sort of allocate sort of what might otherwise be quite a significant fixed cost, but actually being able to say, well, who is using it and how does that play out in terms of your wage might be 50 grand, but my cost of employing you is 60, 70, 80, 90 grand because of the other stuff that you use.
It's absolutely fascinating, Tom. And I think we should wind up our call now, but I think it might be useful for us to have one of these podcasts in a few weeks' time looking at the extent of usage of AI by our client firms, because I think wherever they are now, in 6 months' time, they'll all be a lot further forward, and we'll have a far higher percentage of our firms that have embraced AI. Anyway, that's our look ahead to some of the things that will be on the radar of our typical client firms as we approach 1 year end and look forward to another year. So for now, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again in this very space in the not too distant future.
Thank you.